What up, YouTube? My name is Captain Cinnamon, and today we are going to be talking about my experience with One Piece Day Dallas. One Piece Day Dallas card game celebration is, as the name implies, a celebration of everything One Piece with a specific focus on the card game. Now, this is the very first time that the event is being ran here in the US. Historically, this event has been a Japan exclusive thing since 2022. The event itself was announced about 2 months ago at the conclusion of the One Piece Nationals Finals, which happened during Bandai Card Games Fest in Orlando. Now, the purpose of this video is not just to showcase all the stuff that I saw and talk about my experience at the event itself, but I also want to go into detail about what it was like even to try to go to the tournament in the first place. As you guys can see later on, it's actually a very, very important thing to talk about, and of course give my reflection on what I think went well and what I think, of course, could have been done better. Of course, we're also going to show you guys all of the cool stuff that I got at the event. If there's one thing that I was really happy about, it was about all the stuff that I managed to get, so we'll get into that later in the video as well. Now, one thing that I feel like I do need to point out is that this is my very first time attending any sort of like Bandai Fest or any type of like card game fest in general. So my mileage and my opinions about things might differ from your general experiences, or at least from your expectations of how things should go. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you guys like what you're watching, drop a like and maybe subscribe to the channel too. I'm pretty new to vlogging in general. This isn't really the type of content that I typically release, so let me know what you guys like about it. Let me know if you guys think that there's some other stuff that I should cover the next time I ever go to an event like this, and yeah, maybe we'll try to do more of this, especially if you guys like it. So yeah, let's get right into it. So Dallas was only about 5 hours away from us, so we left at around 10 o'clock in the morning and arrived there at around 3:30. Of course, we made sure that we stopped by Buc-ee's. Their food, by the way, was immaculate. Would absolutely suggest anyone passing by one to make sure you just stop by, take a poop, get some food. 10 out of 10 experience. When we got to the venue for early check-in, the lines were basically non-existent. It was really quick. We were pretty much in and out in like 3-5 minutes. And the cool thing about doing early check-in as well is that they gave you extra free stuff. For the folks that had general entry, there was a free extra Monkey D. Luffy promo card, and for the folks that were participating in the side events and the tournaments, we get an extra event pack. That was pretty much it for early registration. We did meet up with a couple that we met on Instagram that needed help with entry, which I'll talk about once again later in the video. That was the thing that I mentioned in the intro, but that went really smoothly, and everything was pretty much set. Of course, we managed to find a pretty decent Filipino restaurant for dinner. That place, by the way, was amazing. Their pork barbecue was so good. I would absolutely go there again if we stopped by Dallas. But yeah, we called it a night and it was on to day one. So that was it for Friday. After that, we went straight to the hotel and I went ahead and opened up my goodie bag and my packs. So here's how that went. All right, so let's go have a look and see what you get. So essentially, for all three passes, you essentially get a sling bag, which comes with a bunch of stuff in it. We'll just go through this like really quickly. They're not really like exciting stuff, but you know, figured you guys probably want to see how everything looks. So I'm not really sure what this is, right? It's basically just an advertisement for the manga. This one I had a look at a while ago. It's basically just the product catalog for all the stuff that they pretty much have. So you have like, you know, their upcoming OP10, which is coming out later this month. Pictures of like a bunch of figures that they sell. So pretty standard like catalog of like all the stuff that merchandise wise, and of course promotion for like their mobile games, Treasure Cruise and Bounty Rush. Aside from that, apparently there is a One Piece gym opening up in Tokyo. Must be nice. That's pretty dope. This is for tomorrow. This is a scavenger hunt. So they've got like this little scavenger hunt thingy-majig where you go around looking for stuff and solve puzzles or whatever. And every puzzle that you do grants you a ticket. And eventually, depending on how many tickets you got, you can exchange them for these prizes. Apparently a lot of people want to go for this one right here, the 6-point prize, which is the event pack volume 1. I think this pack is going for like 25 bucks. Chase in here is like the Uta or the Ace. But you also got this sleeve, so hopefully one of us could get the sleeves, and we'll probably go for like the volume pack and maybe this Monkey D. Luffy sleeve right here. So hopefully we'll be able to get that done by tomorrow. There's this one, basically just an advertisement for their YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. And even more advertisement stuff for Treasure Cruise and Bounty Rush mobile games, which I unfortunately am not into. They also give you like this little chopper hat. Me and the wife got our own hats, so we're most likely not going to use that tomorrow. As a competitor, I've got this little badge right here. Pretty cool thing. First time I've ever gotten the badge that says competitor like this. This is my first event, which I'm pretty sure I've talked about at one point. But now for both general entry passes and for the tournament passes, you get 3 cards, which are all in this one pack. So of course, me and the wife, we both got 2 packs total. Let's have a look at what's inside them, because there is a very, very cool card in here, which I'll be completely honest with you, I was not as hyped about, but listening to all the people that were talking about it, people were already talking about flipping it. It got me hyped for it as well. And we'll show it to you here in a second. So let's just delicately open up this thing. But as you can already tell from the back, it's going to be a Dawn card. You guys might already know what this is if you're watching this, but let's go through each one. So first off, of course, we got our Luffy promo. I know that they have a Japanese version of this as well, released at One Piece Day Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very beautiful card, basically just showcasing all gear forms. Second up, now this one is really sick. That looks great. Holo on it looks amazing. So there's that promo Zoro. I don't know if this is, I think this might be the first time they've come out with this particular promo. It's basically Egghead Zoro. It looks really, really nice. And lastly, the one card that everybody wants. Let's have a look at it. Ooh, there we go. The Ado Uta Dawn. Honestly, looks a lot better than the picture that they showed on the website. I was not as excited for it, but looking at it right now, this thing actually looks amazing. The Japanese versions of this card are, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on eBay. The ones that I saw, though they are graded, are going for like 300 bucks. I don't know how much the English one is going to go for, but that is an amazing, amazing looking Dawn. But once again, here are our cards. Promo Luffy, Promo Zoro, and of course, the Ado Uta Dawn. Really, really good looking Dawn. Now, so that's what you get for general entry. Now, for the people that checked in early, you get an extra promo, which is this one right here. Not really too excited for this one, but hey, you know, free card is a free card. We'll just leave it in the plastic for now. We'll take care of that later. And for the tournament goers, you basically get the exact same thing. So it's the same exact 3 cards, which I'm gonna leave in here for now. I'm not gonna open this one up just yet. But the cool stuff that you get for participating in the tournament is essentially this stuff right here. So that is 6 packs, right? 6 packs of OP09. You get the Regional Participation Pack, Volume 1, 2025. I'll post the pictures. You get 1 card per pack, and there's 2 of them in here. So it's a lottery because there are like, I'll post a picture of the cards that you can get in here so you guys know what essentially we can get. And for those that sign in early, you get the Event Pack Volume number 6, 1 card only. Once again, I'll post a picture of like the possible cards that you can get in here. So yeah, let's go ahead and open up the packs here in a second.
So basically, this is just the part where we opened up all the packs. I didn't really get anything else good out of OP09 except for 1 hit, which is what I'll show over here. So now it's finally day 1 of One Piece Day. It's Saturday and it is cold and rainy. We left at around 8 o'clock and got to the venue at about 8:15, 8:20. By the time that we got there was already a pretty long line going all the way to security check. That took a little bit, but luckily we were pretty much prepared for the weather. We had umbrellas, we had thick jackets on us. There were a lot of people that weren't. The amount of people that I saw that looked absolutely miserable, that were trembling, was really sad. They really should have prepared better for it, but yeah, we got through the lines and got into the venue, and by the time we got in there, we were met with even more lines. So there was another line, which I imagine were waitlist lines for either the tournament or the side of it, and there was also, of course, another line for folks that were still trying to get checked in for the venue hall for general entry. So luckily we skipped both of those. I had no intention whatsoever for any of like the side events because I knew for a fact that there were people there that were waiting early in the morning. And of course, check-in, we already took care of that the day before, so we went straight to the entrance to the venue hall, which of course had another line. Now, this is kind of where things get a little confusing, and to say the, not even to sugarcoat things, but disorganized. So this is the part where I'm going to insert that thing that I mentioned in the beginning that I wanted to talk about, which was an explanation of how to get into the venue. So there are technically two types of passes. One is the general entry pass and one is the tournament / side event pass. Two different things, but they essentially are similar passes, right? The tournament and the side event passes are paid passes. So you have to essentially pay for it on Tixer. There were very, very limited slots. And I was lucky to get into the tournament pass, which allowed me entry into both days. Side event pass functioned the same way, where as long as you get one, you also get entry into both days as well. Now for the general entry pass, they decided to do a lottery. A lottery meaning they left it up to chance for the people to go. I was going with my wife. I needed my wife to be with me, and in order for her to go, she has to get a general entry pass and go through the lottery. So that was pretty stressful. Luckily, she was able to get one, but for Sunday only. So that was a problem. I needed her to be with me on Saturday as well. So we needed to figure out a way for her to get in. Now, luckily, as long as you have a general entry pass, you can actually bring in 2 other companions. And I need to specify that it was only for the general entry pass. So what I decided to do was to find someone with a general entry pass for Saturday and basically just ask them if, like, hey, if you don't have any else with you, can you just tag my wife along? Like, I'm willing to pay for it as long as you can just get her in so that she could be there with me. Luckily, I was able to manage to find a couple who was in a very similar situation to us. They needed getting in on Sunday while we needed getting in on Saturday. So we basically negotiated the thing where we were just like, hey, you bring my wife in as a companion pass for Saturday, and we'll have you as a companion pass for my wife when she can come in on Sunday. So that was the reason why we needed to make sure that we got to early registration, because that was essentially where we had to meet, because when you get your goodies and your passes and all that stuff, they needed to have everyone there, which means that if you got there and your companion is like 3 or 4 hours away, you had to wait for them to get there in order for all of you guys to get your passes. You couldn't just tell them like, hey, I've got one other person with me, let me just get that companion pass and I'll give it to her later on. That part honestly was very annoying, but I get why they're doing that. But yeah, that was annoying to say the least. Now, my biggest complaint about the whole thing was really just the lack of proper explaining around the whole thing, right? If you go to the website, and I'll probably show it up here in a second, the way they word things just isn't clear per se, right? The way Bandai expressed stuff. And this is where I feel like having just like a general FAQ or having just a very detailed explanation of how things go, because if you go on the Discord, and I'll probably show a little screenshot just to show you just how many people are inquiring just because of information just not being there immediately, is very, very apparent. So there are so many people, so many questions as to like, hey, like, do tournament passes get a general entry pass? Hey, side event says that they get a general entry pass, and it says that general entry passes get a companion pass. So I guess that's how it works. No, it wasn't. Literally only general entry were the ones that had companion passes, but they just didn't bother specifying that. The only thing that they specified was that general entry passes get companion passes, but they never really said anything else about the other passes, so that was annoying. The other part that also annoyed me, which luckily wasn't a problem for us, but I could imagine could have been a humongous issue for us and for others, was that when we finally got to the entry at the venue itself, so they had people lined up, all of a sudden they decided, or not really that they decided, but all of a sudden security was saying like, hey, if you have a companion badge, which by the way is a different color, a companion band, which is by the way a different color from the people that had the regular general entry bands, which was the color white, you can't go in at 11. Now, this was never mentioned in the website. This was never mentioned by the people that were there giving, you know, the badges early on. This was just something that just randomly popped up in the gate. So that's a problem because, you know, in our case, me and my wife, like, I'm trying to get in early because obviously I want to get to retail and get a bunch of merch before they get sold out. You're telling me I can go in early 2 hours ahead, but my companion, from the word companion, can't come in until 11 o'clock in the morning? That was never specified. That just came out of nowhere. It didn't become a problem for us, luckily, because I was worried about it while we were in line because they were saying, white badges only. But by the time we got to the door, I literally just argued and been like, hey, she's my companion. She came here with me and we did early registration, or we did early registration the day before. Like, we can get in, right? And the security person that we spoke to just went like, yeah, just go in. Thank God that was the case. I don't know if that was the case for others. I don't know if other people might have not been allowed and they had to wait up until 11, because I know for a fact that the next day, I think they were actually a lot more strict about it because I heard them saying it and mentioning it a lot more than they did on Saturday. So that was a very, very big, I don't know if it was a miscommunication by Bandai itself and security, or if that was a rule that they established early on and they just conveniently forgot to post it on the website. So that is absolutely something that you guys need to fix, or at least be clear about, because people want to know what time they're going in ahead of time, because that's how they're going to schedule stuff, right? With the weather being that bad, imagine if, you know, imagine if they actually stuck to that and just said like, hey, no, your wife is has a companion badge on Saturday. She can't go in and she has to wait up until 11. The weather was horrible. It was cold. It was rainy. And there were folks like us that were there early. And if we had to wait up until 11 o'clock to go in, oh man, I would have been pissed. Luckily for us, once again, day one, we were able to go in as soon as the gates opened up, and we went straight to retail. So yeah, here's how all of that stuff went, and here's all the stuff that we saw inside. So here we've got artwork that came out in a lot of the cards in OPO 7 and OPO 8. And directly next to it is another display for OP 10 and cards that come out in the Starter Deck EX, which should be out by now. We've got Gavin here on a YouTube stream doing a pickup game. I believe this was broadcasted live as it was being played. And right next to it, you've got a display of a bunch of cards. They did have Premium Booster and I think OPO 9 on display. I could be wrong. But what I do know for a fact, though, is that right there at the very front, here we have up, is OP10. Definitely had to check these out, since at the time of this recording, these cards weren't out yet. I definitely had to check out those new SP cards. I think the new SP cards for this set look absolutely amazing. Hopefully we can get a bunch of those. To the right of the middle of the event hall, you have this really big display of not just artwork, but also a lot of merch right there in the middle. So the walls were pretty interesting. They had a lot of concept arts for a lot of the characters and their designs in Egghead. Within the four walls, you had all of the Yonko. I basically am showcasing here Gear 5 Luffy. You've also got Shanks there on the other side, and Buggy and Teach. Right here in the middle, you have that awesome Luffy statue, and of course, upcoming tins and the Starter EX deck and OP10, which once again, when this event happened, those sets weren't out yet. Illustration boxes that were already out at that point, and the new sleeves that were only available at the official Bandai shops. Some really, really cool figures, which I enjoyed checking out. This part was really, really cool. You've got an original manga art display with illustrations by Oda himself, which unfortunately we weren't allowed to record, but in the middle of it, right next to that entrance, is a space where you can actually just chill, read manga, pretty much grab whatever volume they had, and they pretty much had everything in there, so that was really, really cool. In case you're wondering why we wanted to get into the venue first, the answer to that was the retail area. So at retail, they sold everything that you would expect them to have. They had card packs, they had booster boxes, they had the Illustration EX box, which was going to be a One Piece Day exclusive and eventually was going to be sold eventually, but they also had figurines and toys as well. Now for the retail space, they implemented a QR code system wherein you would scan a QR code that was there on display and book any of the available time slots. Now these time slots only stayed up as long as there were slots
within those particular times available. As soon as they're all filled up, you're out of luck and you'd have to go for the later times right after. It was very, very important to get an early time slot because trust me, a lot of the stuff that they had sold out immediately, especially the premium booster boxes, PRBs. They were gone within like the first hour, hour and a half. For Saturday, we had the 12:30 slot. As soon as you scan the QR code, they give you like this little menu where you can check off all the stuff that you'd want to get, and it'll also basically just tell you what they do have for sale. We ended up once again with a 12:30 slot, which was not really the best, but luckily we still had some boxes that we could get. When we got there, premium booster was completely gone. OPO2 was gone. OPO5 literally ran out like right before it was our turn to finally buy stuff, which was kind of disappointing. But I ended up with a box of OPO6 anyways, which I didn't really open that many of, so that was pretty cool. And that was day one. For day two, we went back into the retail line and managed to get a 10:30 slot this time, which was nice. And at that point, we got another Illustration EX box, which the day prior we got 2 of them, and we got a box of OPO2. Well, I should say the wife got a box of OPO2. Really thankful for her for getting that because I haven't opened any. I think I've only opened maybe like 5 or 6 packs of OPO2. It's probably like my least open pack of all of them. So I was pretty happy to manage to get a box. Also got some pretty cool pulls, which I'll just post here in the picture. Sorry, in the side. So yeah, that was really nice. Their system was okay. I get why they had to do it. The only thing that I wish they could have done better, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably share the same sentiment as well, is I wish they just had more stock. But to be sold out of the good stuff within like an hour and a half, that probably tells you that you probably didn't bring enough and they underestimated how much people was gonna be there and buy it, or they're probably just happy with how much they sold and they pretty much hit their targets already. I don't know, but yeah, it would have been nice if there would have been more stocks. A lot of the folks that got in line and maybe got like a 1 or 2 o'clock slot was just picking up scraps. I know some folks even got like a 5 or 6 o'clock slot, which I don't know what at that point what you can get. I was pretty happy with what we got. You know, 2 EX boxes on the first day, 1 on the second one. Pulls wise, not really the best, but you know, it's opening packs. Opening packs is really fun, so I was cool with it. Now for day one, we stayed exclusively in the event hall and enjoyed all the activities there. Once again, I wasn't trying to play in the side events happening in the other building for the first day, and for day two, I had a tournament happening, so I knew I was gonna miss a lot of the stuff happening in the event hall, so we tried to maximize our time while we were there. A lot of the stuff that we went to happened on stage. We were able to get some pretty good seats up front by basically just being there 30 minutes to an hour before any of the activities happened. And while we were there, we were able to catch the English VA for Chopper, as well as the producer of the anime for a bunch of interviews. They also handed a bunch of Chopper promos while that was going on, so we actually managed to get 3 of them because we caught 2 on day one and the wife got another one the next day. And right after, they had Sanji's voice actor, the Japanese one, up on stage. That part was really cool. He is such a figure. He also did live voiceovers of a bunch of his scenes, which let me go ahead and play them for you so you can see how epic it was.
どんな時でも腹は減る。どんな敵でも腹は減る。さあ食え。食いてえやつには食わせてやる。話はそれからだ。
right after that on stage, they had a bunch of other activities happening. On day one, I wasn't able to catch it, but they did have another pickup game with Gavin on stage, which was once again broadcasted live on their YouTube channel. They had a presentation to talk about all of like the new products, toys, and stuff that they had coming out. And of course, they also had some announcements pertaining to the card game. So they announced like all of the new stuff that they had, the new sets. The biggest announcement that they made during this time, of course, was the announcement that in 2026 we were gonna start getting simultaneous releases for both English and Japanese, which is of course amazing. Obviously, if you are aware with like the current status quo of like the One Piece card game, Japanese is always ahead in terms of releases. Like right now, for example, they've got OP11, whereas right now, as of like when this event happened, we were still stuck on OP09. Simultaneous release is amazing. It's going to be really, really cool for the meta because basically everybody around the world is going to be figuring out stuff at the same time. Really, really excited for that. Some really, really cool stuff coming up for that year. And after both of those, the highlight, I would say, of the whole event is to have OST performances. So they had Hiroshi Kitadani and Maki Otsuki do live performances of a bunch of their soundtracks, which was amazing. I'm not gonna talk about it more. I'll just play a bunch of clips. You guys be the judge. But yeah, it was epic. That was basically day one. So on to day two, it was going to be tournament day. The main reason why I was going and the main reason why I even managed to go, just to let you guys know about my experience with the card game, I've pretty much only been playing on the sim, right? I have played like in person before this tournament maybe twice. One was for a sealed event for the OP9 pre-release, and the second one was just a regular store tournament. So at that point, it was only my second time ever playing in person, and I'm at a freaking pre-regionals playing in a pod with 512 people. So going into the whole thing, my expectations were incredibly low. I didn't even know about the format, how the whole thing was gonna go, like how many games we had to play. I had to ask around on the Discord to figure out what it was gonna be, but essentially I found out that, you know, you're supposed to play about 9 games. Depending on how well you play, if you do play the entire 9 games, and depending on whether or not you lose your games like early on, basically if you lose like 3 matches like right from the get-go, you're pretty much guaranteed to be just at the bottom 256 where you wouldn't get any extra prizes. So I went into the whole thing assuming that that's exactly what would happen to me. I felt bad going into the tournament because I didn't want to leave my wife alone, but luckily, and I have to give out shout outs to my wife because she was supportive to me of the whole thing. Because just to kind of shorten the whole story, I ended up playing at the whole place, playing at the tournament the whole day, which was completely unexpected because I didn't bomb out as early as I expected to. So I went in telling her like, hey, I'm gonna be playing 3 games at most. I'm probably just gonna lose the 3 games immediately, so I expect to be out within like an hour or 2. Tournament started at 11 o'clock. I left her at the event hall at around 10:30 and played the first game. It was against a Vegapunk player. Shout out to the guy. We played an amazing match that went straight into overtime. I remember he told me like that was the best match he's ever played. His heart rate was like super high, and it was like super neck to neck. I made some very dumb mistakes out of my inexperience due to bad Dawn splitting or whatever. I don't even know what the term is at the moment, but that was like literally the only reason why I lost. But it was an amazing match. I felt pretty good losing to that because I thought, oh wait, hey, I'm actually able to keep up. Like, I didn't win it. I definitely could have done better, but it was like a learning experience where I basically felt like I was really learning stuff. I was taking in things pretty well. After that, went into the second match. The second match was a bye. The guy didn't show up, so that was a free win. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I expected to be 0-2 by now. Well, no, I'm 1-1. I'll take it, right? After that, I just kept on winning, right? So I went 2-1 after that. I actually managed to play against a Shanks player. It essentially got to a point where I was 3-2, right? And I basically was telling the wife, hey, I'm at 3 wins right now, but I'm at 2 losses. I'm 1 loss away, so I'm gonna be there pretty shortly. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose this next one. And that didn't happen. I just kept on winning up until I believe I was at one point already 3-3, and the person that I was playing against at that point told me like, hey, since you've already managed to win like this amount of matches consecutively, keep playing, right? He said the worst that can happen at this point is that if you actually end up losing like 4 matches, then yeah, at that point you're definitely going to be bottom 256 and not get anything. But even if you end up 6-3 at the very end of your 9 matches, I'm considering the amount of like matches you won consecutively, blah 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 blah, there's a chance that you would still get top 128, which if you do get top 128, you actually still get some really cool stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, sure, let's try it out. If I don't lose this next match and end up with 4 losses, then sure. So that's essentially what happened. I ended up playing all 9 matches. I ended up 6-3, way better than I could have ever imagined me getting to. And shout outs, by the way, to all the folks that I played. If there's like one big takeaway that I have about my whole entire tournament experience personally, is that all of the people that I played with were super cool and super nice. And I mean that literally. All of the folks that I played were amazing to talk to. They were so understanding about me having to like check out whatever card they were playing for me to understand and know what their cards were. But they were so nice. They were so friendly. I actually had conversations with a lot of them afterwards about stuff like how the match went, but it was really surprising to me. This was the very first card fest that I've ever been to. It was my first time ever participating in a tournament of that scale and size. And honestly, the night before, I was almost considering dropping out just because of anxiety. Like, not really full-blown anxiety, but just in my mind, I was like, man, is it really worth the stress for me going into this when I know I'm gonna bomb out of it anyways? And that way I don't feel guilty leaving my wife alone at the event. But yeah, I ended up playing there the entire day. We finished at around 6:30. I ended up top 104 out of 512 people in our pod. I did way better than I could have ever imagined me doing, and I was incredibly happy of that. Shout out to all the folks that I played with. I'm gonna post a screenshot here on my TCG Plus app to show the guys that I played with, so hopefully if they ever watch this, they'll see me basically saying how absolutely friendly and understanding they were. Yeah, I had fun. That really got me into it. Like, if there was like any experience that would have really, locked me into this particular hobby and game, it really was that experience that left such a good taste in my mouth that really has me right now wanting for more. So I really want to go to more of this. That was just such a good experience. Now, as far as like the organization of the tournament and all of that stuff, from my end, from a person who has only gone here for the first time and experienced that, who had a pretty vanilla experience. Basically, when I say a vanilla experience, this means that I didn't really have any other technicalities as far as things not working, being unaware or uninformed of like how stuff is supposed to go. For me, from my end, it actually went pretty well. I know that if you look on the Discord, if you talk to other people that participated in all the other stuff, especially the side events, and especially for the people that try to waitlist for a lot of this stuff, it was probably excruciating for them, especially because some of them lined up like super early. Once again, I did not participate in any of the side events, but if I were to talk about my personal tournament experience myself, how that went for me, results aside, just the general fun that I had, and technically how smooth things went as well, it really wasn't as confusing as I thought it would be. I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10, really. One thing though that I would say for people that are going to be participating in this type of stuff, you got to be ready to be there for the whole day, and you got to be ready for basically non-existent breaks, because if you play a match that goes into overtime every single time, you're only going to have maybe 5 or 10 minutes before your next match is going to start, and then your match is going to last 30 minutes, I think, plus like 5 minutes for overtime. So you're going to be there the whole day. right? So I had to like run to the little like food area that they have in between matches, the one that I finished like pretty quickly, to get some food, and I didn't eat until like maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock, so I was starving. I don't know, maybe have some snacks on you if you participate in these type of stuff. I had no idea about this, or I had no idea how it was gonna go, but yeah, definitely for future reference, for future tournaments like this, have some grub on you, or at least have someone to get you some food, because man, it took a while. It was a long day, but it was satisfying. So yeah, that's how the tournament went. So once again, I managed to get into top 128. I'll show all of the stuff that I got out of the tournament here in a second. I'll probably just have a little video to show all the stuff that I got, and yeah, I'm looking forward to do more of this again in the future. So yeah, that's tournament review right there. But enough of the tournament though. What do I feel about the event itself? If I were to score it, and if I were to score this thing in a fair manner, I would have to score it based on how they handled things, not just at the event itself, but as I mentioned in the intro, I want to talk about how they handled things right from the very beginning in terms of like announcement of stuff up until the very end, because I think that's the fair way, because you can't just review an event based on how the actual event itself went. You also have to count the processes that happened before it, because in general, that's part of the experience. In terms of the tickets on the general entry side of things, that definitely annoyed me a lot. Doing a raffle for an event like this is annoying because number one, it causes a lot of stress for people that have to make some really long distance plans for like accommodation, that have to travel, right? And for it to be up to chance, that messes up a lot of stuff, right? Like imagine if we had to book flights and it turns out that there's a chance that you can't actually go in. That could have been that could have been a huge problem. So I don't know if they do this for all the other events, but them doing it for this one, questionable to say the least. So I wish for future events that they never do a raffle like this. Let it be first come first serve for all I care. At least people can resell tickets, and at that point, like we would just buy a resale ticket, because I'd much rather be guaranteed that we can go there even if we have to pay extra, as opposed to leaving everything to chance, right? So that was annoying. That was issue number one. Issue number two is just how there's a very clear lack of communication on stuff like, you know, what the passes entail, venue stuff. I get that, you know, if things aren't available immediately, okay, and this is like the response that I would get constantly on the Discord if ever I had to ask, where someone from PlayTCG would be like, information is not available at this time, so we can't say anything about it. Okay, cool. Don't let it be a thing where I have to ask about it to find out whether or not there is any information, right? Let it be known immediately from the get-go on the main website and be like, hey, more information pertaining to this particular thing is going to be available soon, right? They had some parts on the website where it was like upcoming soon, but most of them really pertain to stuff like what the displays were going to be, what the activities were going to be. As far as like those minute details that might affect like registration and might affect like entry into the venue, they didn't have anything saying that a lot of that stuff is going to come out. Although now, you know, in hindsight, like, you know, after the whole event is over and now seeing that that information did come eventually, for future events, I'll probably be a lot more chill and be like, okay, they're not saying anything now. I'm assuming it's going to be out in like a week or two. I get that now, but being like a first time goer, not really knowing how things go, not having all of that information readily available, and not really knowing whether or not it's going to be announced is annoying. And trust me, it isn't just me, okay? If you go on the Discord, on the PlayTCG Discord, you're going to see a ton of other people that are asking. And like I said in one of like the things that I said, like, hey, I get that you don't have all the answers. I just wish that I didn't have to waste my time and your time, and I'm pertaining to the people that answered me, having to ask about this stuff because the information isn't available. So that was annoying, right? So that part, I wish they fixed that. There should be an FAQ, right, on events like this that answers a lot of like the general questions that people have, because it's very easy to have a look at the Discord threads and even maybe their internal inbox about people asking about stuff to figure out what are some of like the key stuff that people are asking about. What is like the most common thing that is constantly popping up? How do we answer this without having to have them reach out to us for answers, right? And having a general FAQ could have sold so much stuff, because even after I got my answers for the stuff that I asked, over the next couple of days, a week before the actual event happened, there were still the same people asking the same questions over and over again. And once again, a general FAQ could have solved all of it, but they just never got around to doing it, which was annoying. That was all the pre stuff, all right? So that was pre pre-event. Now, what were my issues with the event itself? A lot of people will talk about like, hey, you know, there really was not much stuff to do inside the whole thing. I don't think I agree with that. I feel like for me personally, and I wasn't even in line for a lot of the stuff with the exception of merch and retail and actually going in, but I felt like I actually enjoyed and was actually able to spread out my time specifically for day one, right? Because once again, day two was tournament day for me, but I was able to actually like spread my time pretty evenly and be at all of like the significant activities that they had, right? So like if there wasn't anything happening on the stage, you know, I went through like the egghead stuff and did some of like the scavenger hunt stuff that they had going on. So that wasn't an issue for me. Now, as far as the lines are concerned though, there were some pretty horrible lines. There was a line for the only merch booth that they had that was selling t-shirts and stuff. By the way, having only one like store selling t-shirts, merch, actual merch and whatnot, pretty weak sauce. Definitely wish that they had more. There was a line for that. There was a line for people that were doing the gachapons at the very front of the venue. Whatever, that's fine. I wasn't too interested in it until I found out that they actually did have some cool stuff available there. So pretty unfortunate that we didn't line up for that. There was a line for scavenger hunt for all the stuff that were trying to redeem their stuff, which I eventually found out that if you lined up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there was no line. But also I also found out that they also ran out of stuff at the scavenger hunt booth. So it's whatever. I didn't really care about that. But there were lines upon lines upon lines of everything. And I can't imagine a system that would eliminate that aside from just having more personnel, which would probably also require a bigger venue. So it's a little hard for me to be harsh on that aspect, mainly because I feel like it's unavoidable when it comes to events this size. I definitely wish that they would fix it in the future. I definitely wish that they knew how much of a concern it was to have lines that long, but no, it is what it is. Can't complain about it. Definitely wish there was more stuff available at retail so that most people wouldn't run out of stuff, including us when we ran out of like OP05 boxes on day one. Aside from that, overall, I had fun. I definitely had fun. It definitely was a memorable experience, something that I have absolutely no regrets going to, something that I wish that I could go to again in the future. All right, quick pause. There are 2 things that I completely forgot to mention and include in here, and that is number 1, there should absolutely be a casual place where people can sit down and not just rest, but to actually just play the game. It's a freaking card game celebration, and there isn't a regular place to actually just sit down and play casual games aside from the areas in the tournament and the side event areas, which are completely full. So that is absolutely missing, and that should absolutely have been there to begin with. Number 2, the drone show. There's just no way to sugarcoat it. It got canceled on the first night, which is understandable due to weather. But then as soon as it got moved to the second night, it happened at 8:30, which by the way, there was already nothing to do at 7 o'clock because all the event halls all closed down. So we had to wait an hour and a half for the drone show, which got canceled entirely due to the drones malfunctioning. So no excuses there. That was a complete miss by Bandai. Super disappointing on that end, to say the least, but that's about it. That was the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, which I imagine is going to be a pretty long video, but if you guys did enjoy this, once again, throw a like on it. That'll really help me out a lot. And once again, subscribe to the channel. I have a bunch of videos on this channel of me unboxing stuff, but to be completely honest with you, I don't want this channel to turn into primarily just an unboxing channel, because I feel like that's just way too boring and there's a lot of other people doing this stuff. But I'm not really at a position yet where I can do a lot of this stuff, mainly because there really isn't a lot of stuff happening around me within like the One Piece card game hobby. But I guarantee you guys, this is not going to be like, it's not going to be like this forever. Eventually I'll be at a place where there should be a lot of stuff happening, and I'll probably have a lot more time to make a lot more non-conventional stuff pertaining to the One Piece card game, but it'll happen in the future. So yeah, if you guys can just subscribe and hopefully be there by the time that happens, that'd be cool. But yeah, this is Captain Cinnamon. I'll see you guys later. Ciao.